Hey guys, James with Torches and Tactical, and I have a treat for you today. If you've been paying attention to the NEXTORCH scene at all, then you know that they've been talking about a light for a little bit now that has been super hyped up in the flashlight world, and I have it for you today. Now, we are going to be looking at the NEXTORCH TA20. That's right, this is a very, very compact, very discreet, and pocketable tactical light from our friends over at NEXTORCH. Now, they sent this along with a couple of accessories that we're going to be going over, and I want to share what my findings are with you. Now, this is an EDC or pocket tactical light. It does have an Osram P9 emitter that's going to shoot out 1000 lumens to 210 meters. It is all powered by a 16340 battery with on-cell charging. And as far as those modes, you do have a duty mode, which will give you high, medium, low, and strobe. And you can flip it over to tactical, and that's going to give you just your high as well as your strobe mode. So we will be going into that here shortly. In addition to those, this is IPX8 rated to 2 meters, and it is drop resistant rated to 2 meters as well. But before we start, let's go ahead and set this down, take a look at the packaging, and a couple of the accessories. Now, like a lot of newer NEXTORCH lights, it does come in this very, very nice hang tab packaging. And on the back, you're going to see that you do have your ultra compact everyday carry flashlight, has the multi-user modes with a compact size and single-handed operation, as well as those very renowned NEXTORCH tactical nano-ceramic window breakers up front. You can see that it does give you a runtime of 1 hour 15 minutes, as well as that beam distance of 210 meters made of aluminum alloy, and a couple of other specifications. On the side, it runs through a couple more specs, and up front, you can see a very clear picture of what you're getting inside that box. Now, it's the TA20 with 1000 lumens and runs by a couple other things as well. So let's get this out of the way and show you what's inside. Now, inside the package, it actually does come nestled inside this plastic insert. The battery is shipped separate in this container here. But on the back side of that packaging, if we open up this plastic package, you do get your TA20 user manual, and that's going to walk you through how to use both of those duty and tactical modes, as well as more specifications. Then if we keep diving in, we have our USB-C cable, and that's going to be A on one side and C on the other, just to make sure that it's always topped off. Finally, we do have a couple more goodies inside, and that is a NEXTORCH branded lanyard. This is going to make sure that it stays secure on your wrist if you're not using the tactical ring, which we'll go over here in a second. So, all that aside, let's go ahead and take a look at a couple of those accessories, shall we? Now, I won't bore you with what's inside the package, but they did send the FR1 tactical flashlight ring as well as a V31 tactical flashlight holster, and I'll show you how to use those right now. For the tactical ring, it does come out of the package, and you can see that it is made of a very durable coated steel. It looks like it's nylon over steel, and in order to put that on, we just take off this tail cap and we can slide this right on. Now you will notice that there are indexable grooves here, so you can set it up ambidextrous. But getting that in place, go ahead and screw the tail cap back on, and you're good to go. So this is going to give you a strike surface here, as well as make sure that you have full control of the light when you need it, and you can easily slide it out of the way when you don't need it. In addition to that, they did send over their V31 holster, and this might seem a little large for this light, and I think that's for good reason. Now, this does have a large barrel here that's going to keep the front end of this protected, and this shroud here, or almost sort of a collar, if you will, this is going to allow that tactical ring to slide over, and it's going to sit firmly in place, but it also means that you can slide it to the side, and it's going to keep fingers or other prying hands off of the rear tail switch. In addition to that, it is extremely adjustable. Now you can open up the bottom of this And you can slide this over your duty belt or over MOLLE strips or anything like that. And if you use it on a duty belt, it does have a spring release adjustment right here. And that's going to let you go from a thinner to a much thicker duty belt. And that's not the only place it's adjustable. If we go ahead and close this up, you can see that with a pull of this tab, you can slide the head off and adjust 360 degrees inside these marks. And once you finally have it where you want, you go ahead and press down and it'll lock it in place. No more moving this guy, so you can still keep your flashlight around, but there's plenty of room to allow that tactical ring to be grabbed and pull the flashlight out very, very quickly. Now one more time for good measure. Doesn't take a ton to pull that out, but at the same time it does hold your TA20 very secure. So now that we got all the accessories out of the way, let's go ahead and dive back on the flashlight itself, shall we? Let's take this FR1 tactical ring off so you can see the TA20 in all of its glory. Now let's zoom in here and you can see, like I said before, there is a lock mode, a duty mode, as well as a tactical mode. Now, coming up towards the head, you can see those nano ceramic strike beads. That's going to give you a very tough window breaking or pounding surface if you need to use it. And there is a glass lens behind that. It is very deep inset. And in my experience so far, typically these ceramic window breakers do have a tendency to, let's just say, encroach on the beam pattern at all. It's not unwelcome, however, it is something to keep in mind if you do want that nice round beam pattern. But you'll see that here in a second. So if I move further down, it is that aluminum alloy, and again, like typical NEXTORCH fashion, it does have these anti-roll flats inside that are going to give you a lot of grip when it comes to actually changing the mode of your TA20. And this is a very fluid movement. I'm sure this is O-ring sealed and well lubricated, but I was not able to find a way easily, at least, to open this. And I really like this light. I definitely don't want to destroy it. But we'll keep moving down. You do see the NEXTORCH name right here, as well as the TA20. And if we keep moving in, you can see some battery indicators that are on both sides of this very, very deep and aggressive knurling. Now, when I say aggressive, it's not, you're not going to end up cutting yourself on it, but it does give you quite a bit of grip, even though there's only 3 small rows of it. Now there is a shoulder that comes down for that tail cap, and that is because inset is your pocket clip. Now that pocket clip comes down and around, sits inside this machined groove here, but when it's all said and done, the tail cap will actually sit over it and keep it captive. So the machining that we saw earlier, this does continue onto the tail cap, again, to give you really, really nice grip when you have to remove this and charge that battery, because it doesn't have USB-C on board. Now, there is a very, very nice chamfer on this tail cap, as well as, now it's in lock mode right now, so it's not going to activate, but this E-switch does give you a lot of very good feedback. I have noted in the past that there were some rear tactical switches that seemed like they had almost a dead zone. This is not the case with this. This gives you a lot of good feedback. It feels almost as if when you press it, you know exactly when it's going to engage, and we'll dig into the UI here in a second so you can see how it does engage. And finally, let's go ahead and take a look at that pocket clip one more time. Now this pocket clip is a one-way pocket clip, which is also pretty standard fare for NEXTORCH. It does have a lanyard hole as well as a cutout here inside, but that spring resistance is going to make sure that it's not going to go anywhere. And if you are using the FR1 tactical ring that fits around the tail cap, you can just go ahead and take this off if you want. But it's not going to go anywhere, especially since it is captive. Now, one thing you'll probably note about the size of the TA20 is that it doesn't have any indicators on it for the battery. And that's because it does have internal USB-C charging on that 16340 cell. Now, this battery is an 800 milliamp hour cell, runs at 3.6 volts, and has that USB-C on board. So that does attribute to the fact that it does have a lower capacity. that charging circuit is actually built into the battery itself and takes up a little bit of capacity space. But when you are charging it, you'll see this little hole here. That hole will shine red while it's charging, change to blue after 2 hours and 5 minutes when it completes. And that was at a charge rate of 520 milliamp. So a 2 hour and 5 minute charge rate for me. So one thing you may want to consider is keeping a couple extra CR123As, which NEXTORCH says does work along with these, or having a couple extra 16340s that NEXTORCH carries on hand. So real fast, let's go ahead and focus back on this. Now you can see this for its size, it is very deep, but this deep orange peel reflector, and down in the very center of that, you can see that Osram P9 emitter, and that's going to make sure you get all of those 1000 lumens. And if I show you right here, you can see a little bit of that iridescent hue on that glass lens. This is an AR coated lens, and that's just going to help with anti-reflective properties. But I can show you the beam pattern right here. Let's go to duty, and then I can turn it on. And like I said, you do have quite a bit of cut-in from those nano ceramic window breakers. And as far as a hotspot goes, if I can lift this up, as far as a hotspot goes, you do have a very, very bright hotspot right in the center, and it quickly coronas out and seamlessly moves into spill. Now, the spill is very soft in and of itself, and that has to do a lot with that orange peel reflector, but it's going to make sure that you get a nice flood as opposed to just trying to throw the light out as far as possible. So, seeing all that, how the light works and everything, let's go ahead and dig into the UI so you know how to operate it. Now, while it's in duty mode, you can flip the light on by doing a full press of the rear tail cap. This cuts you into high mode. Then you can press again to go to medium, then low, and consider this a strobe warning. If you press one more time halfway, it will go to a tactical strobe light. You can do a full press to shut that off, and then you can also go into your tactical mode, and that's going to give you a half press for a momentary high, and then if you need that strobe, just press that rear tail cap switch all the way down. NEXTORCH has always been wonderful with their user interface. They have a heavy emphasis on the tactical sense of their user interfaces, and this is no different. It does give you a regular flashlight use if you are in duty mode, but once you need to get down to brass tacks and mean business, you can flip over to tactical, and you know exactly what you have coming, and it's very consistent too. I haven't noticed any mispresses or anything like that with this rear tail cap. It gives a lot of fantastic feedback. Now, as you can tell, this isn't the largest light in the world. Now, in full setup, this is 100 millimeters by 30 millimeters at the head, and the body is 23 millimeters. So it is very, very compact. But considering how compact it is still kind of stout. With the battery in it, it came in at 110 grams or 3.9 ounces. And without the battery, this thing weighed in at 91 grams or 3.3 ounces. But instead of just telling you a bunch of numbers, let's go ahead and set it right here. And we do have a couple of other popular lights that might give you a better feel for its size. So here we have it next to an Arcveld UV, as well as the new copper TS10 from our friends over at Workos. So it's not all that much larger than a TS10. It is quite a bit more round, so you are going to notice that. But then again, it is a 16340 versus a 14500, so different cell configuration and everything. Now, if we compare to the Arcveld, it is marginally shorter than the Arcveld, but again, much wider. And this Arcveld is actually what we're going to be using for our beam shot comparison. Now, we're using the Arcveld because it is the closest competitor as far as output is concerned, and we want to make sure that you guys can compare what Olight says is 1000 lumens versus what NEXTORCH says is 1000 lumens. And as a matter of fact, let's dig into that right now. So let's go outside and we'll do a night shot comparison between the Olight Arcveld UV and the NEXTORCH TA20. Let's do it. Here we have the NEXTORCH TA20. There's high, medium, low, and then strobe. Again, high, medium, low, and strobe. And to compare, we have the Olight Arcveld. Here is low, medium, and high. Definitely more flood compared to the TA20. Now again, we have the NEXTORCH TA20. This is high, all 1000 lumens. And the Arcveld, all 1000 lumens. Alright guys, let's go ahead and get back inside. Alright guys, so we went out and compared the NEXTORCH TA20 with the Arcveld UV. Now both these are touted as having 1000 lumens, and let's be honest, I mean, you can see the size of the reflector with the Arcveld, and you can see the size of the reflector with the TA20. Now it's no surprise that this had a much more distinct hotspot, and this was basically just all flood, but it does have that TIR optic, which is going to do that. So now with this one, I'm not surprised to see that this had excellent throw. And now if I'm going to complain about anything, I'm just going to sit here and be honest with you guys. The only thing I don't like about the NEXTORCH TA20 is the fact that that beam is so cool. And when I say cool, I don't mean like, yeah, man, that's rad. I mean, it is a very cool white, and the Osram P9 is always known for being a very cool white light. Now, that Arcveld UV, you saw it in the videos, that comes in, as Olight says, between 4000 and 5000 Kelvin, which means it's going to be a lot closer to a midday. While the NEXTORCH TA20 with its Osram P9, the P9 comes in around 6000 Kelvin, so quite a bit more white, if you will. Now, that is great for tactical use, especially if you are doing a strobe. However, I think given the fact that this is supposed to double as a duty light as well and give you normal flashlight duties, that they probably should have brought that temperature down just a little bit. Now, I know not everyone's going to agree with me. That is all personal preference, but that's just what I see. Other than that, I think the NEXTORCH TA20 is an absolutely fantastic light. And I know it's one that's going to get a lot of use from me. And if you like what you saw, I will include a link down below to the NEXTORCH website that'll let you pick up your own NEXTORCH TA20 with a coupon code for 10% off. So make sure to click that link down below. You can pick up your own, and you can see just how awesome this light is. So thank you guys so much for being here with me today. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. That helps us do all the giveaways we do. That helps us get new lights in so we can tell you exactly what we think of these and continue putting out content and reviews. So thank you so much. We'll see you guys in the next one.